In Massachusetts, Representative Pressley's husband is set to profit in lavish $2 billion Western Mass courthouse deal, all on the public's dime. For generations, Massachusetts built its courthouses and owned them. That's about to change, and the change is going to be very good to Conan Harris, the husband of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. On July 2nd, the state's Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance picked a private team, Liberty Junction, to build a new regional justice center at 125 Liberty Street, a courthouse pegged at roughly $600 million, and lease it back to the Commonwealth. Not for a few years, for an initial 40, with options stretching it to as long as 60. And the rent runs at least $30 million a year, over the full term that is on the order of $2 billion. More than 3 times what the building cost to put up, for a courthouse the public pays for and never owns. When the lease finally ends, the landlord keeps it. One of the people on the landlord's side of that deal is Conan Harris. Can I also ask why new courthouses need to be built in a state that clearly does not give a single shit about anything to do with our justice system? Like, what? This is like the boldest government corruption I have seen in a hot minute. This is just a rendering of the proposed building. That's insanity. Liberty Junction pairs a Virginia real estate firm, FD Stonewater, with a Boston partnership called Kojo Real Estate, and with Suffolk Construction, the company built by billionaire John Fish as general contractor. Kojo's principals are John Barrows, the former Boston Economic Development Chief, and Harris. The Boston Globe confirmed Harris's role. The state's defense is that Liberty Junction was the cheapest and fastest bid. The trouble is who is standing in the room. The ink was barely dry before 2 losing bidders, USPB JV and Springfield Tower Square LLC, sued in Hamden Superior Court to blow the award up. Their central complaint is that Barrows was named interim executive director of the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, a state job, in January, while the Commonwealth was still evaluating the very bids his team had entered. He filed a conflict of interest disclosure with the State Ethics Commission the day before the award was announced. The suit also questions whether Liberty Junction even controlled the 125 Liberty Street site, which the team is acquiring from Bay State Health. State Inspector General Jeffrey Shapiro has opposed the leaseback structure outright, warning that it would chill competition. And Springfield Mayor Dominic Sarno, a Democrat, said the quiet part out loud. Once again, Boston power brokers are telling the city of Springfield what to do. Here is what a curious deal becomes a pattern. In roughly 7 years, Harris has gone from a $93,000 a year Boston City Hall job to a run of venues that all move on public money or public approvals. Mass Daily News reported last year that the Boston Planning and Development Agency under Mayor Michelle Wu handed Harris's development firm a stake in a 400-unit mega project on public land, turning city parking lots into a private development over neighbors' objections. Nobody in any position of power in Massachusetts gives a single fuck about anyone else besides themselves. It's kind of insane. His consulting firm has also carried a contract with the city's own Office of Police Accountability and Transparency. There is no transparency with anything in Massachusetts anymore, buddy. What the fuck? And the family's finances have drawn scrutiny before. Pressley and Harris are worth an estimated $8 million. Now add a piece of a $2 billion courthouse. Ayanna Pressley has built a national brand on a single message, fighting corporate landlords. Housing is a human right. Stop putting real estate profits over people. It runs through her speeches and her bills. Her husband is about to become a landlord to the government for up to 60 years. Yeah, whenever people say this, they don't actually care. They're just upset that they're not the landlord making money. It is a remarkable trajectory. In the space of a few years, Harris has gone from a city hall salary to a consulting contract to a stake in a public land mega project to a slice of a $2 billion courthouse. Each step built on public money or public approval. Each one a door that does not open for most people. Neither Harris nor Pressley's office has publicly addressed his role in the courthouse deal. The arrangement was first spotlighted by independent journalist Mike Urban, whose reporting drew attention to Harris's stake before the mainstream press caught up. You know, I wonder what it took to get the French to finally start doing the revolution. That's a question I have. Dead body found at Mattapan home owned by Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley's husband as Boston police open death investigation. Hey, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny that apparently he's already a landlord when all of her speeches are landlord bad. That's crazy. A dead body was discovered Saturday afternoon on the grounds of a Mattapan property owned by the husband of U.S. Representative Ayanna Pressley. And Boston police have opened a death investigation at the address. The death investigation was first reported by the Boston Globe, with additional details reported by the Daily Mail Saturday evening. Boston police were dispatched at 1:52 p.m. to 25 Malta Street on what BPD spokesperson Officer James Mochia described as an investigative person call. Sergeant Detective John Boyle, also a department spokesperson, told reporters that BPD is treating the scene as a death investigation, and the case is being handled by the department's homicide unit. By Saturday afternoon, an officer had been posted at the front door of the address, a 2-story blue home fronted by a freshly painted white picket fence. Yellow and red crime scene tape marked off the yard, and a for sale sign was propped up out front. Ooh, that dead body is gonna really deflate the value of that property, man. You're gonna have to knock several $100,000 off. On-scene officers declined to say whether anyone was staying at the house at the time of the call, referring questions to BPD Media Relations. Boston property records and federal financial disclosures show the property is owned by Conan Harris, Pressley's husband. The 8-bedroom, 4-bath multifamily home built in 1910 was purchased by Harris for $340,000 in 2021. It is currently listed for sale by Thumbprint Realty for $1.15 million, more than triple the purchase price 4 years ago. And this is the problem with the housing market. That house is absolutely not worth $1.15 million. In no way, shape, or form did it actually triple its value in like 4 or 5 fucking years. That's insanity, dude. Shantae Turner, the realtor Harris and Pressley hired to list the property, told the Globe that the current tenants had been living at the home for a while. Turner declined to comment further, calling the death unfortunate. A neighbor told the Globe that Saturday's death investigation is not the first time Boston police have been at the property in force. According to the neighbor, BPD officers raided the same house roughly 2 months ago, about a month before Harris and Pressley listed it for sale. Boston police have not publicly confirmed the earlier raid or its subject, and the department has not addressed whether the two incidents are connected. Federal financial disclosures show the 25 Malta Street property bought Harris and Pressley as much as $100,000 in rental income during 2025. They were renting it out, and they only got $100,000 in rent? And they're trying to sell it for $1.1 million. That means that was an $8.3K a month rent. Whoever was renting this house was paying more a month in rent than I do for my mortgage. That's insanity. That reminds me of a couple of the houses that I was looking at when I was trying to buy a house. And they went for like, I'm going to heavy air quotes, decent prices. They went for like, you know, 800, 900,000, which is very decent price for this area, unfortunately. And immediately the people who bought them put them up as like a rental home, and they were wanting more than $10,000 a month to like rent these places. And I was like, buddy, if you're buying a house and taking out an astronomical mortgage, because these houses aren't worth that, bro. You're taking out this astronomical mortgage and expecting renters to pay your mortgage for you. That's insanity. That's literally insane. And so after like 6 to 10 months, depending on which house it was, being up for rent, they eventually would just like take them off the market and then resell them because they couldn't afford the mortgage without renting it out. And it's just like, why do people do that? Why would you buy a house that you can't afford unless you put it up as a rental unit, and then you put it up for an astronomical rent amount where if someone could afford to rent that property, they can afford to just buy a fucking what are you doing? They're retarded. Yeah, it's literal fucking insanity. Some people are that stupid. It's so fucking dumb. It's so fucking dumb. The couple's disclosures list rental income from 4 Bay State properties last year, totaling roughly $350,000. The couples. Why does anyone vote for this woman? She's simultaneously a landlord while saying that landlords are dog shit.
How? How? I don't know.
And she's not even like being the change she wants to see. She's doing the same thing as everyone else, right? Like, If I was a landlords are scum, fuck landlords political individual, and I became a landlord, I would want to sell my properties for under market value, right? Because if you're angry that landlords are just getting rich off of other people, you would want to sell things cheaper and disrupt the market, would you not? Plus proceeds from the sale of a Fort Lauderdale home valued at between $50,000 and $100,000. When the what? How did they sell a home in Fort Lauderdale for only that much money? What the fuck? I mean, I guess they're living up to their principles in that regard. Running as a Republican in the Seattle metro area. Lol, Lamau even. It's either the centrist Democrats or card-carrying socialists, especially since the socialist is partially responsible for Seattle's current state. If you already have socialists in power, I don't think you're getting them out of power without having some sort of right-wing revolution type thing in the area. The couple also owns an Edgartown property on Martha's Vineyard listed by the New York Post at $1.1 million, which produced between $15,000 and $50,000 in rent last year. 2 additional Boston units brought in similar rental brackets. Bro, how many rental houses do they fucking have? That's literally insane. Harris spent Saturday morning at the Shaw Roxbury Branch Library, where he took the podium to speak on behalf of Pressley at a ceremony renaming the branch in honor of Sarah Ann Shaw, the first black woman to work as an on-air television reporter in Boston. So you're telling me that the lady who rails against landlords is a landlord herself, and her husband is going to be making fucking tons of money off of a $2 billion building deal that he's going to be renting to the state. And they're also renaming things? So they're altering historical places? Kind of interesting. Pressley's office has not responded to inquiries seeking comments as of Saturday evening. Boston police have not released the identity, age, or sex of the deceased. This is older, so I think they do have that now. The department has not said whether the death is being treated as suspicious, whether foul play is suspected, whether Harris or anyone connected to the household was present at 25 Malta Street when the body was found, or whether the tenants, Turner, referenced were present at the property Saturday. Turner's another person referenced earlier were present at the property Saturday. This is a developing story. Victim found dead at property owned by Democrat Rep. Ayanna Pressley's husband has been identified. The slain victim has been identified as 18-year-old Yoseliani Marte, whose family says she was killed in an act of domestic violence. Boston police responded Saturday afternoon to a home on Malta Street in the city's Mattapan neighborhood after receiving a report of a dead person on the property. Authorities have not publicly identified a suspect or released additional details about the circumstances surrounding Marty's death. The investigation remains ongoing. I definitely would like to know why an 18-year-old was found dead in the property. That seems very strange. What the fuck is this painting on the wall? Seems very odd. Her attire strikes me as very streetwalkery, but I think that's just how people dress nowadays. Why do they identify the home as owned by the husband? Explain that. Because he's a homeowner and the dead body was found in the home that he owns? What kind of fucking question is that? What kind of question is that, bro? Family identifies teen found dead inside Mattapan home owned by husband of Representative Ayanna Pressley. Friends and family have identified an 18-year-old woman as the person found dead from a gunshot wound inside a Mattapan home. We're getting more information? Previously, it was just a domestic violence thing. The home is owned by the husband of Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley. Although police have released few details, homicide investigators remained at the home throughout the weekend. The house is a 2-family home owned by Pressley's husband. The home is currently listed for $1.15 million. A spokesperson for Pressley's office says neither Pressley nor her family were involved in the incident, and Pressley offers her deepest condolences to the family impacted. Well, that's good. I guess, if they weren't involved. Good for them. We got home and there were police coming down the street. They blocked off with crime tape over there and neighbors gathered around. I mean, it's sad. It's really sad because you know this neighborhood is a wonderful place to be. Family and friends held a vigil for the victim last night. This manner of death remains under investigation, according to Boston police. Mother seeks justice after 18-year-old daughter found dead in Mattapan home. The mother of an 18-year-old woman found dead inside a Mattapan home is speaking publicly for the first time, sharing her grief and her determination to seek justice for her daughter. The teen, identified by her family as Yoselani Liani Marte, was found Saturday inside a home on Malta Street in Mattapan. Property records show the home is owned by the husband of U.S. Rep. Ayanna Pressley. There's no indication from investigators that the property's ownership is connected to Marty's death. Boston police responded to the home Saturday, where officers discovered the teen's body. Homicide detectives were called to the scene. And you see, what also is crazy to me, can I get rid of this? If you look at... Oh, I hit the X button and it didn't get rid of that thing. Well, then what the fuck is the X button for? You fucking freak. Looking at this neighborhood, right, I can tell you that this is a poor neighborhood. I can tell you that this is the way neighborhoods that my mother lived in look like. You would not want to pay 1.1 million for a home in an area that is where my mother would live. Like, that is just... You don't want to be there. According to police, the office of the chief medical examiner determined the teen died from a single gunshot wound. However, investigators say the manner of death remains under investigation. Her mother, Ayanna Ocasio, believes her daughter's death was a homicide and says she knows who may be responsible, though police have not publicly identified any suspects or announced any arrests. This coward killed my baby. He put a gun to her head, took my baby in that house, and left her to die, Ayanna Ocasio said. She also questioned why no one called for help. Why not dial 911? Why not call mom? She said. Well, see, lady, if you're saying you know who killed your daughter, and obviously the killer was in the house with her, why would he call 911 after killing her? See, that doesn't make any... Like, who would call 911 in that scenario? Ayanna Ocasio described her daughter as someone who was full of life, compassionate, and always willing to help others. Friends knew the 18-year-old by the nickname Leonie. She said her daughter was not suicidal and believed the truth about what happened will eventually come out. I mean, she's right about that. I wouldn't think this was a suicide. My daughter didn't deserve this. My daughter did not deserve this. And it's all going to come to light. Everything's going to come out. A growing memorial of candles and balloons now lines the sidewalk near the Malta Street home where Leonie was found. Friends stopped by Monday to pay their respects and remember her. Still processing her daughter's death, Ayanna Ocasio said the loss is yet to fully sink in. I'm in shock. I have not seen my baby. I haven't seen her laid out. It hasn't hit me yet. I'm not grieving yet. As of Monday night, no one had been arrested or charged in connection with the investigation. I'm hoping and I'm praying and I'll do my best to get justice for my daughter, said Ocasio. Boston police said that they're still awaiting the official report from the office of the chief medical examiner as the investigation continues. I really hope that this is actually going to have a good solution and isn't going to just get swept under the rug, but I don't have a whole lot of faith in that, considering Massachusetts is not very well known for actually holding criminals accountable, unfortunately. I don't like that that is the case, and that makes me feel extra bad for this mother, because I really, really would want an actual, like, justice for her daughter's killing, right? Like, if they find the killer, and they find irrevocable evidence that he done it, he should also be executed. Exclusive, the company owned by Ayanna Pressley's husband, Conan Harris, which won the controversial $2 billion Springfield courthouse bid, was closed down by the state last year and has not existed as a legal entity for all of 2026. No due diligence, the Courthouse Real Estate LLC, the Massachusetts-based minority-owned development firm, was created on June 13th, 2023 with a 3-page SOS filing. Courthouse never filed again with the SOS, including no annual report for 2024 or 2025. That seems kind of fucking weird, bro. I'm not a giga corpo-minded person, so I don't exactly understand how fucked up this is, but it certainly do sound fucked up. Boop.
Hey, it's John F. Gately. You can call me Jack. We have an
Hi,
update
Jack.
And an additional nugget of information that we want to share with you today about the Springfield Courthouse controversy that involves the interim director of the Convention Center Authority and the husband of Congresswoman Pressley. Let's bring up Channel 22 out west. If you're not up to date, they're going to give you a quick up to date of just what's going on with the bid for $2 billion for the Springfield Courthouse.
Springfield developers are asking a judge to put the state's new courthouse project on hold.
Jeb Belize and Dinesh Patel have filed a lawsuit seeking a temporary restraining order against the Commonwealth and the developer chosen for the Springfield Regional Justice Center. The lawsuit claims the winning proposal should have been disqualified because of an alleged conflict of interest involving John Barrows. He's a member of the Liberty Junction development team who became interim
Liberty Junction development team. I want you to remember that name.
executive director of the Massachusetts Convention Center Authority, while bids were still under review.
The suit also argues the state did not apply procurement rules equally to bidders. The state recently selected Liberty Junction's proposal at 125 Liberty Street for the $600 million courthouse project.
So they're focusing on the potential conflict of interest. Remember, I'm not a lawyer, too smart to go to law school, but the potential conflict of interest with the interim executive director from the Convention Authority. And if you're not up to date, we do have the press conference, the press release, I should say, from the Division of Capital Asset Management and Maintenance. Development team selected for Roderick Island Regional Justice Center in Springfield, which has been the subject of all sorts of health complaints from the people that work there. And this came out July 2nd. We're going to scroll down here to the description of the Liberty Junction team. That team includes F.D. Stonewater, who brings an extensive experience delivering large-scale public facilities for federal and state government agencies across the country. So that's what they bring. That seems like a legitimate ad. And Kojo Partners, a Massachusetts-based minority-owned development firm.
You gotta put the punctuation on that.
Owned by Mr. Fish, who was also involved with the Apple Green controversy, which we covered at significant length last year, will serve as the project's general contractor. So we have F.D. Stonewater and Kojo Partners coming together to create this other entity called Liberty Junction Team. So if we were going to kind of put that on a board like this chalkboard, let's go to the chalkboard. F.D. Stoner, they're a Virginia-based Delaware company, and Kojo Real Estate, that represents Mr. Harris and Mr. Barros. They came together to form this thing called FDSMA, Liberty Junction, and they won the $2 billion bid for a lease of the Springfield Courthouse, which is at minimum 40 years and up to 60-year lease. So this is a big, big financial deal. And these two entities came together to form the winning bidder, FDSMA Liberty Junction. There's a little bit of a problem with that. So if you look here again at the press release from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, they refer to Kojo Partners as a Massachusetts-based minority-owned development firm. And if you go to the lawsuit that Channel 22 just mentioned, that was filed by Mr. Patel and Mr. Belize, FDS Liberty Junction is an LLC in Delaware, and they describe the exact same situation, that it's a combination of Stonewater, a Virginia-based real estate development brokerage, and Kojo Real Estate LLC, referred in conjunction with the bid as Kojo Partners. So Kojo Partners and Kojo Real Estate LLC are the same thing for the purposes of this video and this lawsuit and the press release that we just talked about.
He's throwing a lot of information at me. My brain is trying to absorb it.
A Massachusetts limited liability company jointly owned by Mr. Barros and Mr. Conan Harris, according to the lawsuit that was filed just late last week about this bid. Now, the problem is, when we went over to the Secretary of State's office, we pulled up all the LLCs that were associated with Mr. Harris.
Okay.
Including the LLC that was associated with the property that he owns in Mattapan at 25 Malta Street.
So they weren't allowed to do the fusion dance for the bid? It sounds like there was a conflict of interest, and they knew that there'd be a conflict of interest, and so they did a fusion dance to try and obfuscate that, but then people found out that there was a conflict of interest and that they tried to obfuscate it, and now there's a lawsuit over it, is what I'm picking up?
Where there was a death, sadly, associated with that property in the last several days. That would be JLH LLC. But we're not interested in that topic for this video. We're instead interested in Kojo Real Estate LLC. Let's click on that. And we click on that, we bring up the business entity summary, and we find here, it's not that hard to figure out when it was organized. That would have been on June 13th, 2023. And this is where the rubber meets the road here for this video. Date of involuntary dissolution by court order or the Secretary of State. That would be at the end of last year, December 31st, 2025.
They didn't renew their business.
So what I'm trying to say to you here is the entity that was awarded the bid, FDSMA Liberty Junction, if it exists as a partnership between FD Stonewater and Kojo Real Estate, the problem was that Kojo Real Estate does not exist as a corporate entity in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts as of 12/31/25. It was dissolved by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts on that date. Right. So that leaves any number of questions, which we'll bring up in just a minute. But not the least of which, by the way, if you go down here, you can see Mr. Harris and Mr. Barros. They're listed. And then if you go down here, you'll view the filings. And what happens here very often is you'll have a corporation created. And maybe sometimes it's not successful. And the people that run it just forget about it. It happens. And especially here in Massachusetts, we have one of, if not the highest LLC fees. In fact, that reminds me, I have to actually renew my own LLC later.
I was about to say, like, why would you even incorporate in Massachusetts? Like, unless you were planning on having a physical location that would force you to incorporate in Massachusetts, why would anyone do so? Like, it just seems like a really fucking stupid thing to do when there are so many other states that are better for you to file your business in. Bid should have been thrown the fuck out. Yeah, exactly. Like, that's kind of weird, and I doubt that's something that was overlooked. I doubt it was an oopsie poopsie. It's probably the corruption mechanism working as intended.
This week or soon, the next week or so. It's like $500, which is, I think, as close as it gets. The next California might be a little bit higher. It's extremely high. And so you might forget about that. It happens. Yeah, especially if you're like, your business isn't going anywhere. What might happen is after you file, if you never file anything else, and this LLC exists on paper, on 3 pieces of paper, 2 of which is actually, the third one is just Frank Galvin's signature. It actually exists on 2 pieces of paper. The problem is, if you don't file what's called an annual report, which costs $500, $250 per page for the 2 pages that you got to file.
That's so stupid.
If you don't file that, I believe it's 2 years in a row, then Bill Galvin's office, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, will automatically dissolve your LLC.
So they created the LLC in 2023, and it was dissolved December 2025. So it was like they created the corporation specifically to eventually be dissolved. Because that means that they filed the paperwork to create the LLC, but then they never filed an annual report ever. That's kind of weird.
Kind of just like, hey, we didn't hear from you. You didn't do it. So by this right here, they should have done it in 2024, and they also should have done it in 2025, if I have my dates right. And at the end of 2025, after not doing it, the Secretary of State's office dissolved Kojo Real Estate LLC. That's exactly what we see right here. If we pull it back up on the screen, dissolved by court order or by the Secretary of State. It's hardly ever by court order. It's almost always by the Secretary of State. Dissolved by the Secretary of State at the end of last year. So that does bring up a complicated question for this video. And here we are here. Now, remember, I'm not a lawyer. I'm just like, a real estate broker who is asking some inconvenient question. And here's my question. If Kojo Real Estate ceased to exist at the end of last year, then under Delaware law, what does that mean for the good standing of FDSMA Liberty Junction?
That's a good question.
In other words, how can FDSMA Liberty Junction exist in good standing if it's two corporate partners, one of which no longer existed? And furthermore, under Massachusetts law, especially the contracting law, if one of the awardees, and it seemed like obviously...
Based, he's got a sticker down here that says no more wind turbines. Fuck off with that garbage, man. It don't do shit.
If it's mentioned in the press release, you wonder if it was some type of requirement, because it was mentioned in the press release, or if it wasn't some type of requirement, maybe it was some type of edge that they had because it was so-called a Massachusetts-based minority-owned development firm that got the contract, except it wasn't a Massachusetts-based minority development firm because it wasn't a firm.
Because
The Commonwealth of Massachusetts just awarded, in part, a $2 billion courthouse bid to a company that the Commonwealth of Massachusetts dissolved 7 months ago. Like, literally, you can't make this up. So, again, the two legal questions, not being a lawyer, but would be, how does this affect the good standing of the winning bidder under Delaware law? And two, how does it affect the contractual or bidding law under Massachusetts law? If one of the LLCs that won the bid actually doesn't exist, how can they win the bid? All right, I'm John F. Gately. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you later.
Thank you, Jack. I'm very interested in where this lawsuit will go, because his questions make perfect sense to me, and I don't have answers for those, even though I also own an LLC. Maura Healey's accused dope-running deputy spotted at a swanky Disney steakhouse known for $440 Wagyu chops just days after an EBT spending spree. You are not angry enough about how your tax dollars are being used. You might think you are. Much like how you might think you hate journalists enough, but there is always room for more hate in your heart for these things. Life, it seems, is beautiful for Lamar Cook. He is the fired Healey administration deputy accused of running 18 pounds of cocaine through Governor Maura Healey's own Springfield office. Hey, Springfield mentioned once again. Why does it seem like the apex of corruption is happening in Springfield instead of Boston at this point? He's currently out on $25,000 bail, and he's receiving Massachusetts taxpayer-funded SNAP benefits. Excuse me, why is he on SNAP if he was literally working for Maura Healey? Which the state has clarified he's fully entitled to keep.
What?
These are the kinds of people that should not be on SNAP. Like, what are we doing here? This weekend, he was dining at STK Disney Springs, Walt Disney World's swankiest steakhouse, where a 10-ounce Japanese Wagyu A5 filet cost $440. The occasion, as one might expect from a man in his position, was a celebration, a family member's birthday party. And in case anyone missed it, Cook made sure to post photos himself to his own public Facebook story. They know they're stealing from you. You know that they know that you know that they're stealing from you. And they don't care. Because what are you gonna do about it? Fucking nothing. What are the politicians that you complain about gonna do about it? Fucking nothing. The image shows Cook in a white cap, a picture of unbothered contentment, seated at a long communal table with a party of 8 to 10 diners, in front of a spread of entrees, sides, and more than a dozen cocktails. Mass Daily News is not identifying the birthday celebrant. Cook, however, put his own face on his own Facebook page. That, one can only assume, was the point. STK Disney Springs sits on Buena Vista Drive at the edge of Village Lake, tucked between Rainforest Cafe and the Polite Pig. The menu prices its 34-ounce dry-aged tomahawk ribeye at $160. Its 28-ounce dry-aged porterhouse at $122. Dry-aged Delmonico at $112. Bone-in strip at $92. And cocktails between $18 and $22. A range of figures that would exhaust the average Massachusetts SNAP recipient's monthly allotment in roughly 90 minutes of table service. I don't think it should be a hot take at all. If you are on SNAP benefits, you should not be at restaurants like this. Because if you're on SNAP benefits, you cannot afford restaurants like this. That is just what that means. If you're going to restaurants like this and you're on SNAP, you are defrauding the system. You don't need that. You should not be getting that. Cook is, as Mass Daily News reported on Sunday, still receiving Mass SNAP benefits, swiping his state-issued EBT card at supermarkets in Kissimmee, the sunny Florida town from which Walt Disney World is a short walk away. Massachusetts Department of Transitional Assistance, when asked to explain how a man awaiting trial on cocaine trafficking charges retains eligibility for state welfare. Also a good point. I didn't even think of that. If you are awaiting trial for something like that, it's a wonder you still get taxpayer-funded benefits. Cited federal rules that prevent the agency from doing anything about it. The rules, they say, tie their hands. The rules also, apparently, did not prevent Healey's office from cutting Cook a $31,000 buyout check in January after firing him for cause. I know we've been talking about a lot of fraud recently, and so this might seem like very new to people, but Massachusetts welfare fraud has been going on for probably forever. When I was a child, my mother would apply for like SNAP benefits and things, and she would claim that she had full custody of my brother and I, when not only was that not true, but she also lost custody for a period of time. And she would get her SNAP allotment based on her having to feed 2 children that she never actually fed. And so she got a lot more in SNAP benefits than she ever needed or should have gotten. I'm going to have to start running SNAP like CPS, where actual people come to your house and investigate your situation routinely. I don't know if that would even help, because people like my mother are able to lie to people like CPS. It's not exactly run by intelligent people. The state, naturally, did not ask for the money back, and Cook was released on $25,000 bail in March, reduced from an initial $75,000. He was literally like a politician's underling. Why did he get reduced bail? Why do we have a guy who was a politician's underling using her offices to traffic cocaine, getting reduced bail, is on SNAP, and is now on a vacation in Disney World, using your taxpayer dollars to still buy food at grocery stores? That's crazy. He faces the possibility of decades in state prison if convicted on the cocaine trafficking count alone. His trial date has not yet been set, which brings us to the coda of Cook's Facebook story. Alongside the birthday party photos from STK, Cook posted a screenshot of Mass Daily News' own reporting on him, the article about his Kissimmee EBT swipes and the mistaken $31,000 buyout, and captioned it with 3 laughing, crying emojis. Well, yeah, this is what they do. They defraud you, they steal from you, and then they rub it in your face that there ain't shit you can do about it. Again, if you're able to defraud someone and you can get away with it, why would you not mock them for being a retarded rube? That is just like the mentality that one acquires when you're used to taking advantage of people and there's no repercussions for it, and in fact, you get rewarded by it. There's no indication that Cook is unhappy, and there's every indication that he's enjoying himself immensely. For what it's worth, Lamar Cook has good taste in restaurants. STK Disney Springs is genuinely excellent. The readers, meanwhile, have questions about who is picking up the tab. I'm glad that the commenters are angry, because, like, you absolutely fucking should be. Someone saying, where's the audit? The politicians in Mass are never gonna let that audit go through, man. They're never gonna let it happen. And then there was just Brian Shortsleeve for Massachusetts, Republican for governor of Massachusetts. I don't know if he's a real Republican or a fake one, considering it's Massachusetts, but, like, holy fuck. After Maura Healey's office cut Lamar Cook a $31,000 severance check, he's living it up in Orlando on a SNAP-funded EBT card, buying groceries with your money, steps from Disney World while out on bail for running a cocaine ring out of the governor's Western Mass office. Healey has bungled this from minute one: the illegal payout, reduced bail, and now this. She had tolerated corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse at every turn during her time as governor. This is exactly why Massachusetts needs a change. It is, and there's probably nothing that's going to happen to this guy. He's probably going to have 0 repercussions for any of this that he's done. Trans Democrat Maine Senate candidate Webb says, I also leak, like, a mucus, which they can't really explain. If you're leaking mucus from your asshole, please go to the fucking doctor.
You have mentioned you're intersex. How did that end up coming about? How did you find all this out?
Through medical records that don't add up. And my birth records.
How did you find out you were intersex? Through medical records that don't add up. If you were intersex, that would be in your medical record. What do you mean?
Okay. Wait, birth records.
Yep.
Can you explain that further? I don't want to.
So, when I was born, the hospital admin for the medical records signed off on the birth record, and they filed it. I'm pretty certain a little bit over 30 days past my birth.
Oh wow!
What?
And then
the woman part of me wants to feel bad because I see this hulking monstrosity and I'm like, oh man, this is like a low functioning autistic that got taken advantage of, and they've been made to believe these things because they don't know otherwise, right? Like their brain is a scrambled egg, man. And so like I want to feel bad, but then I remember this is a literal fucking Senate candidate. That it doesn't matter how dumb they are, this is fucking malicious at this point.
what they told my mother was they supposedly ran out of birth forms. Now, when I
I suppose they ran out of birth forms. What the fuck?
reached out to the town clerk of where I was born,
Yeah.
specifically asked them, "Oh, how many other birth certificates did this admin sign?" Turns out mine was the only one.
Oh, okay. Well, what was the
This is pure humiliation ritual. Oh, 100%
I mean, why was there an issue? What happened? I guess I'm unsure
Exactly.
what
That's
happened.
the issue that I'm running into is because, well, unfortunately, they only retained birth records for 20 years, and mine got destroyed. So now I'm not going to get an answer as to why they did that. But
Oh gosh.
and the only reason why I started digging into it was because of my
Oh gosh.
I had a blood test drawn, and my estrogen was like 285 pgml, and that's with no hormones, just my own production.
I just don't believe you.
Okay, that's significant. Okay. So how did you end up going to get like an estrogen level taken?
Where I was experiencing hot flashes, and I asked the doctor to run
Gosh.
an estrogen test, and I guess they don't do that for.
You're saying so the idea being that you had ovaries, but or you have ovaries, I suppose that were generated.
And we've seen his x-ray because he posted it on fucking Reddit or his CAT scan, whatever the fuck it was. He doesn't have ovaries. He's just delusional.
Estrogen, but not necessarily ovulating.
Oh,
Is what you're saying?
I don't know about the ovulation. Because I do get symptoms too that I was until I went on the estrogen patch, which went away completely.
Okay.
An estrogen patch wouldn't stop your period if you were having a like real period, man. Like what the fuck are we doing? Is he trying to claim he's on birth control? I was like, I have a birth control pill and it doesn't even have estrogen in it. It's just progestin. What are we doing?
Yeah.
I would feel really good on like the 15th day of every cycle, and it was a 29-day cycle that I was experiencing.
I mean, this sounds pretty cycly there. So
And then
let me read
during
you.
that time, I was gonna
Go ahead.
during that time, like I also leak like a mucus, which they can't really explain.
Oh, interesting.
This man is leaking blood and mucus from his anus. Instead of going to the doctor, he thinks, that makes me a real woman! Yay! What the fuck?
Interesting. You want to call yourself transgender despite not necessarily knowing what all parts are inside?
Well, I mean, the
What kind of question is that? You want to call yourself transgender despite not knowing what parts you have? What the There's no way I tune into this. Welcome, my fister friend!
doctors gave me the label, and I want to keep it because
I see.
even if I'm intersex, like the intersex community pretty much tossed me out and didn't want to talk to me.
That's because the intersex, quote-unquote, community probably knows you're full of shit.
Oh. Any story there you want to finish?
I thought I had ovaries and possibly a uterus, and I was asking them, like, I have these CAT scans, can you take a look? And tell me what you think. And I guess it annoyed them, so they kicked me out.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, good welcoming community. Thanks.
Exactly. The trans community welcomed me without any issues.
Yeah. All right. So you call yourself transgender.
Also, what is the Purple Paw Clan? Why is the Maine Senate candidate being interviewed by a Klan member? Before anyone can run for office, they should have to qualify to ensure they are fit and should have to take a mental evaluation. Not just anyone should be allowed on the ballot. If a man says he's a woman, he's not mentally fit and should not be allowed to run for office. What fucking timeline is this person from? That was also the case with the military. And look how many they let in the military. They're just like, oh, hey, you've got mental instability? Let's give you a firearm in training. Come on, Kier, why would a Democratic candidate not be interviewed by a Klan member? True. I just figured they would be a bit more delicate after Graham Plattner had become, like, a persona non grata to them. I don't think he's actually, like, dropped out yet. Like, I don't think he's actually done that. But they want him to, because he's actually the Nazi that they try to call everybody else.
The following program contains mature subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
YouTuber dies after ingesting poison on stream as viewers desperately try to save him. I think for the content has gone way too far, chat. But also, I'm glad that people are suffering effects from their own Darwin Awards, because what the fuck? A YouTuber in his 50s has died after ingesting poison during a live stream in South Korea, despite a viewer trying desperately to save him and alerting emergency services. Hey, remember how the other day we were talking about, like, how would you even be able to contact emergency services if somebody was doing this on stream? Apparently, it's way easier than I thought even. The incident occurred at around 8:30 p.m. on July 18th while the creator was broadcasting from a vehicle near his home in, oh boy, Hwangmyeon, Sinan County. According to Newsys, the YouTuber had been arguing with a subscriber before indicating that he intended to ingest a poisonous substance. Someone watching the broadcast immediately contacted South Korea's 199 emergency service in an attempt to save him. Chat, I'm so glad that when we argue, it's just a couple of, like, retards get flung around and then one of us says sorry after. Can you imagine if I escalated to threatening to kill myself every time we argued, chat? Someone watching the broadcast immediately contacted South Korea's 199 emergency service in an attempt to save him. First responders found the YouTuber in cardiac arrest and rushed him to the hospital in Mokpo, but he was later pronounced dead. Authorities have identified the creator only as A in accordance with South Korean privacy practices. The YouTuber reportedly lived with his family on the island and operated a small channel. His broadcast largely consisted of everyday conversations with viewers, according to SportsCon. My brain is having a blast. Didn't Twitch get shut down in Korea? So is YouTube paying, like, insane prices to stay active there? Police have now secured a recording of the live stream and are investigating what was said during the argument along with the exact circumstances surrounding his death. Neither the identity of the YouTuber nor the substance he ingested has been publicly disclosed. The Sinan police station confirmed that its investigation remains ongoing, with authorities working to establish the official cause of death. This isn't the first creator to die from ingesting something poisonous. Earlier this year, a Philippine food influencer died days after eating a toxic crustacean known locally as a devil crab. Congratulations on your Darwin Award. South Korea has been prone to quite a few streamer deaths in the past year. In 2025, a streamer was found dead and a viewer was arrested for murder after donating tens of thousands of dollars to her. I covered this, and while she was a scamming whore, escalating to murder's kind of crazy. That whole scenario was just fucking wild. In another case, a Na Dong-hyung, better known online as Day Library, was discovered at his home in Seoul after the 46-year-old creator's friends contacted police when he failed to show up to a scheduled meeting and could not be reached. I haven't heard of that one. That one's new. God damn. Do you drink bleach? Doesn't your, like, stomach and esophagus basically force vomit you if you try drinking bleach? Like, obviously still gonna burn and cause damage, but Koreans are nutty. They'll play video games until they die. I remember that too back in the day. And then we have another one. Woman accused of poisoning husband loses bond after allegedly trying again. I have some questions. If you failed to poison your husband the first time, why are you still with him? And why is he still with you? If I was with someone and they tried to poison me to die, I would not want to stay with them. What the fuck is happening? A former Alabama attorney accused of trying to poison her husband has been arrested again after investigators allege she attempted to do the same thing while released on bond. Sarah Baker, 75, was first arrested in November 2025 and charged after authorities alleged she put fentanyl into her husband James Doyle Baker's food and drinks. Why the fuck is there a 75-year-old woman trying to poison her husband to death? Where the fuck does a 75-year-old woman get fentanyl? What the fuck? She was later released on a $400,000 bond. How did she pay that? But prosecutors now allege she arranged for caregivers to place a medication bottle containing suspected fentanyl inside his home. Why did the caregivers consent to doing that? Police say okay, they didn't. Okay. Caregivers uncovered suspected fentanyl. I was gonna be like, just out of my fucking mind. I was like, what is going on, dude? According to court testimony, Baker asked one of her husband's caregivers on June 11th for an empty medication bottle from the house. Later that month, she allegedly handed another caregiver a black bag and instructed them to place it inside a safe at her husband's home. Why would you do that? Look, she's got the fucking short haircut. I know you start losing hair and it gets thinning as you get older, and so they sometimes cut it short out of necessity. I don't trust it, man. You pay 10% of the bond, so 40,000. That's still a lot. That's crazy. The caregivers became suspicious and reported the incident to police, who later recovered the bottle. Officers said it contained around 12 grams of a purple-tinted powder that produced a positive field test for fentanyl, the same drug prosecutors allege Baker previously used to poison her husband. During a July 17th bond hearing, Doyle Baker testified in support of his wife, telling the judges she had not contacted him since her initial arrest, and saying, "I have no idea why we're here today. We kept that clean all the way." Well, because she keeps trying to poison you, dear sir! What the fuck? Circuit Judge Gregory Williams ruled that although Baker had not made direct contact with her husband, prosecutors had shown probable cause that she violated the conditions of her bond by allegedly committing a new criminal offense. The judge revoked her bond, saying she poses a danger to our community. I don't know if she poses a danger to the community or specifically just her husband. And Baker was returned to the Cullman County Jail for further proceedings. What the fuck? Why is she trying to poison him? I want to know the motive. This has happened twice and we have no motive? What are we talking about here? Is he senile? Does he even know what's happening? That's a great question. I have no idea. I have no fucking clue.